Ladies and gentlemen, across the oceans, there is a voice that once rose from the heart of India. A monk in saffron robes stepped onto the soil of America, and in a single moment, he shook the very foundations of Western thought. His message was not of conquest, but of consciousness, not of wealth, but of wisdom. And the world listened. The true measure of a man or woman is not written in the titles they carry, the money they possess, or the influence they command in society. The true measure is found in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when life places its heaviest burdens on their shoulders, and they must decide whether to break or to rise. Inner strength is the invisible power that allows an ordinary person to perform extraordinary deeds. It is not built in comfort, it is forged in the fire of struggle. The West was shocked to hear that real strength has nothing to do with overpowering others. It has everything to do with conquering oneself. You can dominate armies, build empires, and accumulate wealth, but if you cannot master your own mind, your victories are hollow. The battle is within. Fear, doubt, and weakness are the greatest enemies. The moment you learn to silence them, you stand taller than kings. Think of history's true giants. Not those who ruled by force, but those who ruled by character. Their power came not from what they owned, but from what they endured, what they believed in, and what they refused to surrender. Strength of this kind cannot be purchased, inherited, or borrowed. It must be cultivated through discipline, through faith, through an unshakable belief that no matter what the world hurls at you, you are bigger than your circumstances. The Indian voice declared that a person who has mastered themselves becomes free. Free from fear of failure, free from the chains of opinion, free from the illusions of weakness. Such a soul cannot be broken, because their strength comes not from the outside, but from the infinite source within. And when a man or woman touches that power, they can change the destiny of nations, because they have first conquered the kingdom of their own heart. When that voice from India rose on American soil, it shattered one of the greatest illusions that mankind has lived under for centuries, the illusion of separation. The idea that one man is greater than another because of the color of his skin, the language on his tongue, the religion he follows, or the land where he was born is not just false, it is destructive. And yet, for generations, people lived bound by those false walls. The message that stunned the West was this: every human soul is a spark of the same eternal fire. Every being is a reflection of the same divinity. This was not merely philosophy, it was a revolution. Imagine telling a world deeply divided by race, by wealth, by creed, that all of these boundaries are shadows, not realities, that beyond the body, beyond the name, beyond the surface, there is one common essence, and it is sacred. Such a teaching did not flatter egos, it confronted them. It forced people to look beyond pride, beyond prejudice, and see the undeniable truth. To harm another is to harm oneself. To uplift another is to uplift oneself. Think of the power in this vision. A society built on division breeds hatred, but a society built on unity breeds strength. When the farmer, the worker, the scholar, the priest, and the ruler all recognize that they are brothers and sisters in spirit, cooperation replaces conflict, compassion replaces competition, and humanity begins to walk a higher path. Nations rise not by armies and weapons, but by harmony among their people. The teaching of oneness carries within it a profound challenge. It asks each of us to tear down the invisible barriers we have built in our minds. It asks us to stop seeing them and us, and to start seeing only way. It asks us to replace suspicion with trust, arrogance with respect, and fear with love. The strength of a civilization does not come from uniformity, but from unity and diversity. Just as countless waves rise and fall on the same ocean, countless lives unfold on the same ground of existence. This was the vision that shocked America because it demanded more than tolerance. It demanded recognition of sacred equality. Not the kind written in laws alone, but the kind written in the heart. When people awaken to this truth, there can be no superior, no inferior, only fellow travelers on the same great journey. And when humanity embraces this oneness, the world will no longer be a battlefield of divided interests, but a home where every voice matters and every soul is honored. When the message of India reached foreign shores, one of its most electrifying notes was the call to believe in the boundless power of youth. In every age, society has looked upon the young with suspicion, too inexperienced, too reckless, too untested. Yet the truth declared was the very opposite, that youth are not liabilities to be restrained, but forces of nature to be unleashed. Within their hearts burns an energy that, if directed with purpose, can move mountains and change the very destiny of nations. The old may carry wisdom, but the young carry fire. And history shows again and again that revolutions are lit not by those too weary to dream, but by those whose veins are alive with vision, whose minds are unafraid of the impossible. The message that stunned the West was this: do not crush that energy, do not doubt that fire. Instead, feed it, shape it, and believe in it. Because when a young mind discovers its mission, when it awakens to its strength, it can accomplish in a single lifetime what entire generations may fail to achieve. Youth does not mean a number. It means a state of spirit. It means daring to imagine a world that others have given up on. It means refusing to bend under the weight of tradition when tradition stands in the way of truth. It means believing that change is not only possible, but inevitable if one has the courage to act. The call was not merely for the young of India or the young of America, but for the young of the world, to stop waiting for permission, to stop doubting their worth, and to rise with confidence. There is something almost sacred about the faith placed in the young. To believe in them is to believe in the future itself. To tell them that they are weak, that they are incapable, is to weaken the very foundation of tomorrow. But to tell them that they are the strength, the hope, the unstoppable current of creation, that is to build a future of greatness. Every generation that has dared to rise has been powered by its youth, and every civilization that has fallen has first lost faith in its youth. The voice from India did not flatter the young, it challenged them. It demanded that they become fearless, disciplined, and purposeful. It told them not to waste their strength in idleness or indulgence, but to channel it toward building, serving, and creating. It reminded them that the world does not need more followers. It needs leaders, and the young are the most fertile soil from which true leaders are born. That is why faith in youth is not just optimism, it is strategy. It is the recognition that the seed of tomorrow is planted in the heart of today's youth. Nurture that seed, and the tree of civilization grows tall. Neglect it, and the tree withers before it bears fruit. To believe in youth is to believe in life's most powerful promise. The promise that what is yet to come will be greater than what has already been. The message that rang out with thunder across the West was not simply about rituals or traditions, but about the freedom of the human mind. For too long, men and women have been shackled by chains they could not see, chains of blind belief, of unquestioned authority, of fear that told them, do not think beyond this line, do not question beyond this limit. Yet true freedom does not begin when one is unchained from the outside. It begins when the mind itself refuses to be enslaved. Fearlessness in thought is the first revolution, and without it, no other revolution can ever be complete. The power of this teaching lies in its courage. To think fearlessly is to refuse to accept an idea simply because it has been handed down by tradition or imposed by power. It is to measure every belief, every doctrine, every custom against the light of truth and reason. It is to be willing to stand alone if necessary, knowing that one honest thought can be stronger than the weight of centuries. The weak mind bows before opinion, the strong mind questions, tests, and seeks until it finds what is real. This teaching shocked the world because it placed responsibility squarely upon the individual. It told each man and woman, do not depend on another to think for you. Do not surrender your judgment to priests, politicians, or kings. Your mind is your kingdom. Rule it with courage. Such a call is dangerous to those who thrive on control, but it is liberating to those who crave truth. When fearlessness enters thought, creativity awakens. New ideas are born, discoveries are made, and progress becomes unstoppable. Every great invention, every new philosophy, Every bold act that changed the course of history began with someone daring to think differently, to think freely, to think without fear of ridicule or rejection. Without this freedom of thought, science would stagnate, art would wither, and humanity itself would remain asleep. But fearlessness in thought is not arrogance, it is responsibility. It demands honesty, discipline, and the humility to follow truth wherever it leads, even when it contradicts our own comfort. It demands that we seek knowledge not for vanity, but for service, not for pride, but for progress. It is not the freedom to believe anything, but the freedom to discover what is real and to stand by it. The teaching that the world heard from that Indian voice was more than an invitation. It was a challenge. It said, dare to think, dare to question, dare to be free. The moment you liberate your mind from fear, you liberate your life from mediocrity. And when millions of minds awaken in this way, society itself is transformed. Fearless thought is not just the birth of individuality. It is the foundation of civilization's future. The message that echoed across the seas and startled the West was not about ambition for its own sake, nor about success measured in material trophies. It was about a higher law, that the truest success is not found in how much one gathers, but in how much one gives. Service, he declared, is not weakness. It is the highest expression of strength. To serve is not to bow, but to rise above selfishness, to align oneself with something larger than personal gain. In that act, man discovers the secret to greatness. The world has often been taught to measure success by wealth, by titles, by applause. But how fragile these things are. Riches fade, power passes, fame is forgotten. What endures is the impact one life has on another, the light one carries into the darkness of another's path, the hope one gives when all seems lost. The greatness of a person lies not in how many serve them, but in how many they themselves uplift. This was the thunderous truth that unsettled the West, that service is not a burden, but a crown. To live only for oneself is to live in a prison. No matter how gilded the cage, it remains a cage. True freedom comes when one learns to live for others, family, community, nation, humanity. In that expansion of purpose, life acquires depth and meaning. The one who serves, who gives of their time, their energy, their love, discovers joy that cannot be purchased, a joy that no disappointment can destroy. That joy is the reward of service, a reward far richer than gold. This teaching challenges us all, for it calls us to reverse the order of our ambitions. Instead of asking, what can I gain? It asks, what can I give? Instead of pursuing applause, it pursues contribution. Instead of striving to be remembered, it strives to be useful. The paradox is that in serving, one gains more than in taking. In lifting others, one rises higher oneself. Service, therefore, is not a sacrifice but an investment in eternity. Imagine a world where this principle governs society. Leaders serve their people instead of exploiting them. Teachers serve their students instead of merely instructing them. The strong serve the weak instead of crushing them. Such a world would no longer be divided by greed or torn by selfish ambition. It would be united in the common recognition that the highest destiny of man is not domination but contribution. And so the call resounds even today. Measure your success not by the bank account, not by the title, not by the applause, but by the lives you have touched, the burdens you have lifted, the kindness you have given. For when the curtain of life falls, it is not what you kept that will speak for you, but what you gave. That is the true success, the kind that cannot die because it lives on in every life it has touched. And so, my friends, the Indian voice that shook America was not just the sound of a man. It was the sound of a new vision for humanity, a vision where strength is inner, freedom is mental, success is service, and every human being is divine. The question is not whether America was shocked. The question is, are we willing to be awakened today? Thank you.